Hello everyone and welcome back. As promised, I'm going to do a quick playthrough of the Grizzled just to show you how the game works. Now unfortunately I've not managed to round up any fellow humans to play with, so what I'm going to do is solitaire it. But to give you a sense of what it's like to be an individual player playing this game, I'm going to show the cards for one of the characters but keep the other two off board just so you know what it's like to have your allies there, but you don't necessarily know what's going through your friends' heads at the time. It makes working together a little more complicated. So, to start the game, we're going to assume this is a three-player game. I have my three characters. I have Gustav Bido, Oscar the cat, they're off camera, Lazar Ponticelli, and Ensemble Perrine are three stalwarts who are going to be trying to survive the campaign. Now, to complete setup, I am going to place the peace card further away up there and the dreaded monument card, which is the one we don't want, over there. The next thing you do, shuffle the trials deck. And of the trials deck, you place 25 cards on top of the peace deck, and the remainder, assuming you don't throw them all over the floor as I've just done, are placed on top of the monument deck, the monument card rather. Now I'm going to give Gustav this token, which is the mission leader token. I'm just going to give it to him for turn one. And we are very nearly ready to play. The only thing we need to do next is gather up the so-called support tokens. Now what the support tokens are is that in between missions, whether you succeed or you fail, you can attempt to offer support to your comrades. Now this might take the form of emotional support, a rousing pep talk, just a bit of quiet time together, or as the graphic indicates, simply making them a cup of coffee. I really like that. It's a lovely, simple, homey thing, and quite powerfully symbolic. So there are the chaps. Actually, tell you what, I won't obscure their features. Let's put their coffee mugs down there. Now what you do is you choose these in secret when you withdraw from a mission. You'll see what I mean later, but they get one pass left, another pass right, which is on the reverse of the card. I mean the template. You reveal these after you've put them forward when you withdraw, and also one that is randomly drawn from this pile over here. So each player will start the game with 3 of these tokens. And that's it. We're now ready to begin. Now there is a special rule for turn 1. Normally a team leader, whoever holds that token this turn, may decide how many cards they're going to draw this turn. This is based on his perception of the state his men are in, and also how much he's willing to risk on a successful mission. Because of course what we want to do is empty that deck and get to the peace card, but we don't want too much of that landing on us from the war deck. But of course this is the first turn of 1914, so everyone's marching off full of elan and not really bothered by any thoughts of mortality, or if they are, they're probably concealing it rather well. So we're going to get 3 cards each. Gustav, I'll just draw some for the other 2, which I'll keep hidden. Okay. Gustav, as the team leader, goes first and inspects his cards. Now, there's really not much for him to worry about because no cards have been played. His men are in good shape. There's nothing much to worry about. So let's look at the threats. Those are climate threats, night or snow. That's night and a shelling. That's an assault in rainy conditions. Not much to choose between these at the moment. Now he knows his comrades. He can use his good luck charm to get rid of a card that has snow on it, so it might be prudent to play that. Lazar over there can cancel a assault, and Anselm there can get rid of a gas attack. So they're in pretty good shape to start with. So Gustav decides he's going to play that. Now you can chat generally with your teammates, but you cannot discuss the content of your hand, which makes this thing rather difficult because you depend on a certain degree of telepathy here. And you might play a card which makes your teammate who's got to go next weep with frustration. If you get rid of most of your cards, it can be any number, and successfully withdraw without getting any triples of any threat, then your mission has succeeded. The moment you have 3 of any threat, whether it's environmental or combat related, the mission ends in failure. That's where it gets tricky. So Lazar, whose hand will remain invisible to us, has played a snowscape with a bombardment. Okay, we've got 2 snow so far, we can't afford any more. Anselm looks at his hand and thinks, not really liking this. He's not got a great mix of cards either, evidently. So, looking deeply concerned, he plays this card. It's another bombardment at night. So now we have 2 of several features. It's getting a bit tense, but it's not necessarily bad. Now, going back to Gustav, it's bad. He definitely does not want to play that card because not only will we have 3 night cards, we will have 3 artillery bombardment cards, and that is an immediate mission fail. However, there aren't any assault cards out and there's no rain, so he's going to play this card just to get rid of it from his hand. So we are doing pretty well so far. Play goes back to Lazar, who, after a little bit of agonizing, decides that he's going to risk playing this card. Now, we have no gas attacks in play yet, and we've only got 1 rainy weather card, but we have this. This is a trap. If you play this card, you have to draw a card from the monument deck and play it immediately. This is very, very risky. It could fail the mission for them, but Lazar is going to go for it. And it turns out to have been a bad call, because he doesn't trigger the ensuing trap, but there are now 3 snowscapes present, which means the mission has failed. Now, none of them have withdrawn from the action, so they get no post-mission benefits and no chances to recover in any way. And they don't get to assign support tokens anymore. So for the purposes of illustration, let's assume that Lazar chickened out of playing that card and decided that he would instead withdraw. He does have his good luck charm and he can get rid of the assault, but it's very early in the game and it might be prudent to hang on to that ability because, of course, once you use up your good luck charm, it's gone until you get a chance to recover. You flip the soldier card. So he's going to hang on to it. He is going to withdraw, which means he places his remaining card on top to show that he's out of the action. And he's going to randomly assign one of his support counters to Anselm. Well, he's going to place it there. We'll see what happens with it at the end of the round. Anselm, similarly, decides that life is getting a tiny bit dangerous, so he's going to call it a day as well. And he is going to prepare a support token too. Gustav, the last man standing, similarly can do nothing with that without turning the mission into a failure, so he too is going to withdraw. Selects his support token. Now that they've all been assigned and everyone's withdrawn, the support tokens are revealed. Gustav had assigned his to the player on the left, which, if you go in a circle, is given to Anselm. Anselm returned the favour, sent his to Gustav. That's very nice of him. And lastly, Lazar assigned to the right, so Anselm benefits as well. So what happens at this stage is you total up your coffee mugs. Anselm's benefited the most from the team's support, which means that he gets to either get rid of two negative cards. You have some cards that become character attributes that attach themselves to you over the course of a mission. Now that hasn't happened here, so I'm going to see if I can find one and show it to you. That is an example of a card that attaches it to you, a trauma. So if something had triggered this card during play, it would have been attached to the character who had played it, and it signifies a battlefield trauma that affects their performance. In game terms, it counts as an extra card of that type already in play. However, having the most support at the end of a turn allows you to get rid of up to 2 of those, depending on whether the mission was a success or failure, or allows you to replenish your good luck charm. So had any of these boys been down on their luck or feeling a bit traumatized, that would have enabled them to recover somewhat. The last thing, the last benefit of a successful mission, is the chap who was mission leader gets a speech token to use for the future. So that goes on his card. Now, speech tokens are quite powerful. As one of your actions in a turn, instead of playing a card or using your good luck token, you can play a speech token and declare a threat. It can be a shelling, an assault, a gas attack, night, snow, rain. You can declare any one of those, and you and each other player in the game, if they have one of those cards in hand, may discard it. It removes the threat. You lose your speech as well, but it's a powerful thing and a great thing to have. So Gustav, by leading a successful mission, has gained one of those to use on a future turn. Very, very handy things. They're absolutely brilliant. They can get you out of some very sticky situations. And with that, the old cards in No Man's Land are cleared. Now, because this was a successful mission, these go into the discard pile. They're out of play. Had the mission been a failure, they would have been shuffled back into the peace deck, where they would have had to have been faced again. Now, the next bit of bad news for the boys is that between them, they still have 5 cards. They withdrew with a total of 5 in their collective hands. So what that means is that number of cards is now transferred from the monument deck, or the war deck, to this deck, prolonging the war and lowering their morale. Had they had fewer cards, that total would have been fewer. It's always a minimum of 3 that are transferred. And with that, they're ready to begin a new turn. They keep the cards in hand that they had previously. Lazar becomes the team leader for the new round. and play continues. So it's now up to Lazar to assess the threat level and decide how many cards he and his boys want to risk drawing before embarking on the mission. Now it's chancy. If he's sensible, he might just declare one card per player because they've already got a lot in hand and ideally they want to get rid of them, not be lumbered with cards in hand, because as you've seen, the more cards you come back with after a mission, the faster that deck is going to deplete. So it's a bit of a race against time. At the same time, you want to be depleting that one as quick as you can. It's a very delicate balance. But for now, the boys have survived the terrible summer of 1914 relatively unscathed. Let's see what the rest of this awful conflict brings to them. Well, that's one turn of the Grizzled. I hope that's given you a sense of how the game plays. It's very simple. I hope you can see why, between the limited communication and the inability to know what's coming, you get this mounting sense of dread and uncertainty the longer a mission progresses. And of course, it's always a very delicate call. If you're brave and you stay out in no man's land, you don't benefit from the support you get from being among those who successfully withdrew at the end of the mission. You do come back, but presumably you're exhausted as anything, and the last thing you're able to do is recover before the next mission comes along. Of course, the other problem is if you withdraw too quickly, that might not necessarily help your teammates, and you may find that they collectively fail the mission while you're sitting pretty, supporting no one. It's a difficult call, and each game is varied enough that it's very hard to discern a pattern. At least that's what I've been finding so far. So hopefully that was of some use. As I've said in the previous video, this is an incredibly fun and incredibly gripping and also an incredibly poignant game. The emotional investment is high, and do give it a try if you get the opportunity. In the meantime, I shall sign off. Thank you very much.